Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Indiana Jones Adventure Series Wave 1 Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark. This first wave is a build-in artifact. In fact, the second wave was just announced at Star Wars Celebration. It is a build-in artifact item as well from Temple of Doom. So first wave for Raiders of the Lost Ark, second wave for Temple of Doom. Will the third wave be for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? I don't know. The assumption kind of there is, I don't know what that wave, what the artifact could be, but they think of all kinds of things, right? Obviously, the first one, it's the Ark. Like, that should be pretty obvious. 5 figures in the wave. Here we have Indiana Jones. You can see all the accessories that he comes with, which is nice because he comes with 2 additional sets of hands, and then he has a bunch of other accessories, and of course the build-in artifact pieces. I'm not going to be all in on the Adventure series. I'm only going to pick and choose. It's Indiana Jones. Had to get Indy, right? I'm probably going to go all in for any of the Last Crusade figures. That is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. So if there's an artifact that it relates to The Last Crusade, I will likely then get all the figures to build whatever that artifact is. But I have these pieces that are just kind of floating around now that I don't need. This is essentially the same exact figure, along with this little statue thing from Raiders of the Lost Ark, was announced in a deluxe pack that had the pedestal piece and then his bag of sand to replace the weight of this. And it's the same exact Indiana Jones figure. Had I known that thing was coming out, I would have just waited and bought that instead of this. Maybe I'll still return this at Target. Probably not. And I just won't get that deluxe one now. But it sucks that the deluxe figure is the exact same Indiana Jones, but has that pedestal and has a couple of additional accessories. It kind of sucks. Naturally, of course, Wave 1 would include an Indiana Jones. You can't not have Indiana Jones. It's just that deluxe figure, it's like, damn it. Anyway, Indiana Jones Adventure Series, brand new line from Hasbro. It is done by the same team that does Star Wars Black Series, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because it keeps the synergy of the Lucasfilm stuff together. The bad thing is we get Black Series type of figures. Not that Black Series is the most terrible action figure line out there. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. They do repaints galore. They have weird things going on, like single jointed elbows and knees all the time, everywhere, every figure. I know they have some double joints in some areas. Yes, I know that. They have butterfly joints in some figures. Yes, I know that now. I didn't know that before because I didn't mess with enough Black Series figures to really know that. I should have because I have a few Mandalorian figures that I reviewed. But Indiana Jones, single jointed elbows, single jointed knees. Now, they're not super horrible and it kind of works decently. But I'm a fan of double jointed elbows. I'm a fan of double jointed knees. Is that so much a problem? I hope not. I will concede the fact that single jointed knees do have a better aesthetic look to them. Sometimes elbows can too, especially like on jacketed where it's a little bit thicker, but you don't get the range. But, for me, I guess it doesn't matter. I just, I prefer a little bit more. But anyway, Indiana Jones figure packaging actually looks pretty good. We'll see what happens when Hasbro goes back to using plastic. But we got some Indiana Jones there. We got a 3D render of the figure. We get some artwork on the side that looks really cool. See, that scene right there. That's the deluxe figure. That right there. And then the back of the figure again, which I think I had already touched upon. But anyway, these figures have hit Target. I don't know if they've hit any other store. Amazon has shipped out some as well. So just a heads up on that. But it's a pretty cool figure that I like to have. I really do like the Indiana Jones figure. So movies. So for the figures, I'm like, okay, well, I got to get a couple of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at Indiana Jones. There's some good things and there's some bad things. People seem to be hating on the head sculpt. I don't think it's as bad as people say, but let's take a closer look and see what you guys think. Okay, so up for the up close look at Indiana Jones, I see Harrison Ford in there. I get it, it's not perfect. I really do. The 3D render, people are going to say bait and switch and stuff like that, and saying, oh, it doesn't look like it. That, to me, doesn't look like Harrison Ford either, and it's a 3D render, so of course it's not going to look the exact same when they actually put it in action figure form. So that's another benefit of Hasbro reintroducing plastic into the packaging. We don't see dumb shit like this where we see the 3D renders on the packaging, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, what? Like, throw it on the back, sure, but on the front, like, we should see the actual figure. The good thing now is going back to plastic. Well, we will see the figure and not a 3D render. So there's that. I don't think the head sculpt is terrible. I know a lot of people are kind of hating on it. Again, I don't think it's that bad. He has his hat on. We don't get an additional head sculpt. I don't know if Black Series has ever done that with any figure where they have a swappable head. I know that the Bad Batch Season 2 Omega, I haven't seen the show. I know that figure actually has an interchangeable head, but I don't know if other figures have had that or not. So no head without a hat, but there's going to be plenty of indie figures that are coming without a hat. I want to take a look at the details of like the leather jacket. The way they put in this little bit of dry brushing in there to show kind of the wear pattern of leather looks really good. It actually has a realistic look to the leather. We get a little bit on the back of the figure, which is nice, especially the back of the arms. And then I want to point out here on his feet. So like the shoes actually look really good. I like the way they look. Very detailed, very realistic looking on some of the kind of the weathering and the wear patterns that they added on there. It's definitely a nice touch. And then here at the bottom of his pants too, a little bit of wear and dirtiness to them. You know, hey, that's not too bad. You know, they did some pretty good stuff. One thing here is this belt that has the holster, and then this holds the whip. It's difficult to get this little peg to stay in there. It was staying in there for a few minutes, and I started moving it around, and it came undone. This is another big gripe. Like, it's such a pain in the ass. Like, why not just put a hook here? Yeah, I get the hook, you know, it wouldn't be as good, but this thing is not going to stay. It's definitely going to be a major pain in the ass. Looking close look at the accessories, we get this little golden statue. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I don't remember exactly what this thing was called, but that looks good. It's just all done in the gold plastic, so you can see there. Here are those Ark of the Covenant pieces, the build and artifact pieces. These look to be identical. I know they go on like opposite sides. And then we have different hands. So we got an open hand here. We got a trigger finger hand. We have the thwip holding hand here with the thumbs out, so you can hold it. We have a fist for his right hand. We get a fist for the left hand, and then we also get a like a holding hand for his left hand. And then, in addition to the other whip, we get this whip where it's kind of out, and you can kind of do things with it. It kind of reverts back to how you have it, but I'm sure if you warm it up, you could probably adjust it and just kind of have it all out if that's what you want to do. There's that whip that's rolled up there, and then he also does have a gun, which is here in the holster. And this looks pretty good. As you can see there, just black plastic, but the mold of it looks really good. So there's Indy, so let's go ahead and take a look at his articulation. It's decent enough, but again, single joints, doubles I like, but singles, they work a bit. Okay, so Indiana Jones' articulation, he can look up that much, he can look down that much there. There is great head pivot going on in there because the head is on a dumbbell joint, so it can move all around. You get a full rotation, of course. The neck that is in there can actually move forward a little bit as well. The problem that I have with the neck, and it's just super long. Like if you look at the neck itself, it looks crazy long. Essentially, that should be part of like his chest and torso area, but it doesn't. You don't really get a sense for that when looking at the figure up close. I think from far away, it's probably not so much an issue, but it just definitely comes off looking as just a really long neck on there. The shoulders can get to go out and up elevated a little bit. You can't get a full rotation in there. And because we have a single jointed elbow, we get a swivel at the elbow. There's no swivel at the bicep. And then the joint, we actually get a little bit more than 90 degrees. So that's why the single joints, they're not terrible. They're not the worst. But again, we just don't get as much. And again, I will agree that we get a better aesthetic elbow as opposed to a double jointed on a jacket. Wrists are on a ball hinge, not ball hinge, just a ball with no articulation. So you can swivel them around, but you can't really like hinge or move anything. You just basically swivel, and that goes for all of the hands. And again, I don't know if Black Series does a whole lot of swappable hands. You guys would have to let me know down in the comments below. The torso, there's not any articulation in there. So at the waist, we get a ball joint. So he could tilt to his left that much. He could tilt to his right that much. Going back is a fair amount, actually. As you could see, it actually makes a very realistic lean back. And then forward, though, is going to be extremely limited to where it's essentially like nothing. Like that's straight up, that's forward. As you can see, there was very little movement, which is unfortunate. There is a swivel at that waist, so that works out well. Legs go out that far apart, so not too shabby. He can kick forward that far. That is pretty good. The leg actually goes back a little bit, as you can see. There is an upper thigh cut in there. And then we get a single jointed knee that gives us slightly more than 90 degrees. And that's the thing with the double jointed knee. I, again, will concede that this bend here is a better aesthetic on a knee than you would see with a double joint, because it just gives it more rounded, natural look to the bend. But you see the huge, ugly hinge, but still it is more natural looking. Again, I will concede that fact. The ankle, there's an ankle bolt in there which allows for a little bit of swivel. It's kind of hard to kind of move the foot around, but it is there. We get some hinge going down on that foot, a little tiny bit of hinge up, not a whole lot. There is ankle pivot, but the designs of the pants makes it difficult to work that pivot, but you do get some. And then you have peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So it is decent enough articulation for Indiana Jones, where I really shouldn't complain as much as I do. I just still prefer double joints altogether. Okay, so terrible, I know. I don't have a whole lot of Black Series figures to be able to show you guys a true good size comparison. I have some Han Solo figures, but they're all on the vintage retro card, the anniversary figures, so I don't have them open to be able to show you guys. But I got a Din Djarin Mandalorian that I could show you, and essentially they scale the exact same. Indiana Jones is going to be a little bit taller. Part of that is going to be the hat, but then part of it is just that he is a little bit taller. So I think, Black Series, I feel like they definitely have kind of undersized some figures, and I would have thought that these would have been a little bit more close to kind of the exact same scale, unless Harrison Ford is just taller than Din Djarin, and I don't know I don't know what their heights are, or if it's just a scaling issue, but I just wanted to show you guys at least something in terms of a size comparison. We have the same company that's doing them, and the same design and engineering team between Black Series and Adventure Series. Okay, so that was a review of the Indiana Jones figure. I think it's definitely a solid outing. If you're used to the Black Series, it fits right in perfectly with what, the Hasbro has been doing with, Lucasfilm, Star Wars property. And it would make sense that they would be able to just go right in and do Indiana Jones. I would have liked it maybe if, we saw double jointed elbows. And initially when we found that out, I was like, oh, that sucks. But it's not as bad as I really truly made it out to seem. Now, I don't know how some of the other figures are to know for sure kind of how that's going. What I do think is weird and terrible, though, is that I think on one of the figures, and I forget the guy's name, but from The Last Crusade, the actor actually was in Star Wars, and he had a Star Wars figure released. I don't think it's the same head sculpt, but his legs are actually used from the Grand Admiral Thrawn figure. So not only is it the same team doing it, but we actually now see that they are using some of the same mold pieces, and hopefully it's just minor with those legs on that one figure. And I don't know that they will be, because, you don't see suited people in Star Wars really, like normal suits. You don't see people in cargo pants and a leather jacket. So, there probably isn't a whole lot of room for reuse, but the fact that there is does also kind of worry me. But, I don't know how deep they really could go with Indiana Jones. Dial of Destiny is going to be coming out soon, and they did just announce 2 figures for that, the Helena Shaw and, of course, Indiana Jones. But, we'll see what other figures get released. I'm excited that they did do some pipeline reveals of Last Crusade figures. Again, so I'm really excited for those. So, I'm looking forward to some of those figures. I won't be all in, but I'm definitely happy with the way this Indiana Jones came out. It's definitely better than kind of my initial reaction from some of the news. Like when it was first announced, I was all hyped. Then they're like, "Oh, the Black Series team's doing it." I'm like, "Oh, damn!" But having it in hand, I do feel relieved, and I am happy with the way it came out. But you guys, let me know down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the Indiana Jones Adventure Series? Did you pick up this figure, or are you passing? Or are you just going to kind of pick and choose like I'm doing? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching. Hit that join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU Collective.